Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. I wanted to do a really quick video today to just normalize messy gardens. I have a full-time job. I have friend commitments that are weekly. I have family commitments that are weekly. I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to my garden, and my garden has 100% gotten completely out of control. And I used to, this is the first year that I'm not doing it, but I used to get really upset when I would get on social media and I would see everyone else's beautiful gardens, or I would get magazines of these beautiful gardens and mine doesn't look beautiful despite me having every intention of my garden looking stunning. So I wanted to just do a video to kind of normalize that us that are working full-time jobs, that have family, that have commitments and have responsibilities and just don't have the time to pour into the garden, it's okay for your garden to be a little messy. So let's do a quick tour of my garden and all of the mess, and then we'll come back to talk about it. So when you walk in, this is an asparagus patch. I have my giant arch of Kikuzu squash. This bed I really loved. It's at the end of the season, but look at all these zinnias that this bed has done. More asparagus, all of this really tall. These tall fronds, these are asparagus. I did plant a new asparagus bed here this year. I have some sunflower seeds. I need to come harvest if there's any still there. I started harvesting beans. I have more beans to go all the way down there. Look at all that okra. We come over here. The kale is still going. The peppers are back there. I have a big weed that I gotta actually at this point dig out. My corn, my Swiss chard is adding the only bit of color to this garden and I love it. This was my snap peas and green beans. These are the only two beds I got planted for fall. I have a little bit of lettuce and my carrots have just started, along with some weeds. My carrots have just started popping up. If we come down, we can see that Tabasco plant is looking gorgeous. This is gonna be fun for next year. So this was a bed of cosmos, which I honestly really did love. They're contributing to the messy, weedy look, but they added really beautiful color. But they're starting to die back now. This is gonna be fun next year. So we have that big guy. Just dropped all his seeds. The birds have been working on him, so I need to pick those seeds up or I'm gonna have a lot of sunflowers in the path. Just like, where is it? Over here. I did not plant that sunflower. So lovely birds have planted that for me, which was so kind. Over here I have a tree that needs to be taken down, but look at all of that grass. There is a holly bush that I need to cut down. I cut it down in the fall. Well, I think I cut down the spring. I cut it down within the past year. And that is less than 1 year's worth of growth, and I don't know how to kill that thing. One awful weed that I really screwed up on taking out, but look at all of these weeds. But look at all the peppers. There are so many peppers. Lots of weeds, but again, a garden that's been really producing. My corn is probably coming down this week and is going to go for fall decorations. This was my potato bed. So there's the white potatoes, and then back there you can still see I have my sweet potatoes, which are just starting to take over, and they'll be coming out in the next week. My beans are ready to be harvested. They're going to get harvested here in the next couple of days. This is an onion bed that I got cleaned out that I need to mulch. Here are sweet potatoes that I wanted to take over this bed, and they're just starting to take over, but you can't honestly really see them with the weeds. And then my last row of peppers, my row of tomatoes, and this was a bad tomato year for me, but they're doing, they're still growing. The initial stems, like here, are pretty dead, but these guys in the back are still growing. So let's do one more pan. So let's pan this awful garden. Definitely not your beautiful garden. Although I will say I am loving that patch of color there. I really am loving that. Messy, huh? It's pretty terrible. So there are definitely different seasons in the garden season. So of course, in the spring we have our spring plants, in the summer we have our summer plants, and everything is fine and dandy up till then. Everything is really just kind of starting to grow. You come out every day and you're looking for that tomato plant to have grown like a couple of inches. You're looking for your first peppers. Like, you're looking for the growth. And then August hits. And at least where I am, when August hits, August is the month where everything goes wild. Both the good things, like my vegetables, and the weeds. So I try to keep on top of the weeds. I failed miserably. I obviously have failed miserably. But I'm trying to allow myself some grace, and I'm trying to impart that grace on other people, so other people know your garden doesn't need to be spectacular. It doesn't need to be beautiful. It just needs to produce. So in August is when all of the tomatoes start coming in, all the peppers start coming in. August is one of my biggest cannon months. August, and then shortly followed by September, biggest cannon months. So as the garden's producing, I've been in the kitchen canning my booty off, and that's taking all my time. Because again, the goal of the garden is to feed. The goal of the garden is to feed me throughout the fall, the winter, and the spring. And if the garden produces and I'm too busy making sure the garden is glorious that my produce is going bad, then that kind of defeats the purpose. So my ultimate goal was, you got to get the produce processed. So the garden at this point has taken a very backseat to any sort of care and self-love, and it looks beyond embarrassing. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty traumatized. But it is okay. So I still come out to this garden and I see the mess that it is, but I also see how much food this garden has produced. I have never grown as much broccoli as I did this year. I still need to go and weigh all the broccoli I put back, but that doesn't include what I've already consumed. But I know I've put enough broccoli back to last me throughout the winter. My snap peas, they're right behind you right now, so kind of why I'm pointing. But my snap peas, they went gangbusters. I have never harvested the snap peas like I did this year. Again, I normally can get like one nice size side of snap peas for my dinner. I get one a year, and this year I had multiple sides of snap peas, and I froze some for the freezer. Don't know how they turn out yet. I'm gonna try them this fall, but I was able to like put some back in the freezer, so I have hopefully more that tastes delicious in the fall and winter. My kale is still producing. I still have kale. It is filled with aphids. I don't know if y'all can see that. See all this? It is filled with aphids. I've actually just left it at this point because my bunny's been eating it. But it is no longer gonna be food for me. But it's not only feeding my bunny, but it's also, I put so many bags of kale back, so I have enough kale to last me all winter. My cabbage did great. My zucchini, I had another bumper crop of zucchini. I had potato, like, this garden produced for me. She produced. She did good work. You saw on the garden tour, I have so much okra that I've stopped harvesting it. I don't have enough okra to last me throughout the winter, so I need to like get back on the harvesting train. But I planted so much okra that I'm like not harvesting any of it because I don't need all the okra I planted, so that is going bad. So I'm unhappy with that. But other than letting the okra go, every single thing is been getting consumed and getting harvested, and this garden has done work. So while it is a complete mess, I'm actually not worried about it. I got in here last week and I was able to start working on it, and it already looks so much better. Just with like a half hour's worth of work, it already looks so much better. So you see I am in a jacket. It is getting cooler. It's supposed to be down at 51 degrees I think tonight. So it's pretty chilly, obviously. I just gave my bunny some more straw for her bed in, so she's gonna be nice and warm. But if the weather stays like this garden's gonna get put to bed very quickly. So let me show you my plan to show you I'm not concerned. I have a lot of weeds, but I'm not concerned. And this garden is gonna go to bed and look perfect for next year in a very short amount of time. So let me show you. Definitely not a picture perfect garden. But again, it produced so much. That's what I'm focusing on. But Now let's talk about how I'm going to put this garden to bed. So first we're going to start with our actual raised bed. So this is the first one I did. This is my, this was my onion bed. I pulled out a whole bunch of weeds last Friday, and I just kind of pulled them and I just kind of lay them to the side so they can die. I will be putting these back on the bed to act as a mulch and to keep all the weeds from continually growing. If I don't cover this bed, more weeds will grow in it. So I need to make sure I get this bed covered. When we come over to here, this is the carrot bed, that is the lettuce bed. These beds are going to be the last 2 beds I actually put back. And I actually need to check these. This bed is okay. This bed looks okay. But this bed, my beautiful flower bed, like, can we take a look at, like, look at that. That is just stunning. This bed has really bad termites. And come out here, you can see, like, this has been falling away. But if you come, all these little holes are indications of termites. So this bed with these beautiful zinnias in it is going to actually get burned this year. I'm going to, I think, burn it right in place and then just use the ash in the garden. And I will be making just another bed to go right here in this space. But these 3 beds are going to be the last beds that I put to bed. At any point in time, I can come get the Cosmo bed that is right behind this big sunflower. This, what was the snap pea bed. This was the beet bed, and then back there and all that greenness, I still have carrots. So I need to harvest the carrots. But how I put all my beds to bed is I put a fertilizer on them. I have a fertilizer called azomite that I really like. So I will sprinkle some azomite. I have some straw. I will sprinkle a good layer of straw on each bed. And then if you have leaves, I like to chop up some leaves and put some chopped leaves on each bed. All those beds will go to sleep like that, and that will keep them from growing weeds. That'll help retain their soil. And then in the spring, when I'm ready to plant, I will turn everything over, and all that stuff will break down and just add beautiful organic matter to the soil. Now, because that's what I've always done. Now, because I have a bunny, I have Miss Fig back there, over there. I have Miss Fig. I have been using her manure, and I've been putting her manure in the bed. So I will be doing that all winter, just kind of spreading her manure throughout this entire garden, and that's just adding another great level of nutrients. I also want to start a worm farm, like a worm compost bin, and that's been on my agenda to do for the past couple of weeks. So, past couple of months, honestly. So that might be a fall task, but I want to start a worm bin. And worm compost I used for the first time, and that I really like. So I want to make my own this year. Okay, so the beds are going to be super easy. Everything comes on the bed super easily, and because this is a raised bed, I don't walk on the soil. I will say I have been walking on this bed right here behind this chair. I've been walking on that bed to get to the bunny because I didn't really give myself a path to get to the bunny. So that one is the exception. The rest of the beds have really loose soil, so when they do grow weeds, the weeds pull out really easily if you get them early. Even ones over here, I have some that's pretty tall, and that just pulled out. I wasn't even planning on pulling him out. I was planning on just pulling his top, and he pulled out super easily. So the beds, I'm not concerned with. They will go to bed. I always say that. The beds will go to bed super easily. But let's talk about my garden paths. So if you look here, you can obviously see, you can't really see the wood chips in my path. What has been happening to these paths is that the weeds have been growing right through the wood chips. This is, for the large majority of the bed, this is the garden, this is the first year that I had actual wood chips. Up until last year I mowed, and then last year at the end of the year I mulched this half. So honestly, about 12 bags worth of mulch, not a lot. So this was the very first year that I had wood chips delivered for free through chipchop.com. And I did mulch this whole bed now, or the whole garden. It does take a couple years, to kind of like get down those weeds and get a nice barrier. And again, that barrier still needs to be done from time to time. This was the first year, and I am obviously very much expecting that. I wasn't gonna have a great weed pressure because it's the first year. I did lay the wood chips super thick, but weeds want to grow. So my plan for this is I've been pulling the weeds. You can see I have another big patch of weeds here. I've been pulling the weeds and then just tossing them onto the soil or onto the paths so they die. And when they die, they'll act as a great mulch. Again, they'll feed the soil, but they're also helping keep new weeds down. I have been saving a ton of cardboard boxes. All the cardboard I've gotten, I've ordered. I've been stealing it from friends. I've been hoarding cardboard. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come get the cardboard and I'm gonna lay as much cardboard as I have, as thick as I possibly can, along all of my paths, so that next year when I wood chip it, hopefully one, it starts to keep the weeds down. The weeds don't grow over fall and they don't start growing in the spring. And then when I wood chip in the early spring, hopefully I kind of already have a nice base. Now, I'm gonna do the same thing in this area. So you can see weeds as far as the eye can see. And it's a lot of like that hay, that grass. I do have a lot of thistle, and I do have some poke weeds that are really trying to start to take over. So I'm really focused on getting rid of all of them. But again, nothing to be, I was kind of like apprehensive about it. I was kind of intimidated, but this is nothing to be intimidated about. We have a plan, and that's all you have to do, is you have to have a plan. And this is going to be super easy. So I think nature is helping me a little bit. It's kind of killing back the grass a little bit maybe. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing with all of this area, with my whole sweet potato bed, and then all of that new area back there that I'm doing with the paths. I have cardboard. I'm going to cover this whole area with cardboard, and then I'm going to cover it heavily with straw. This is an area I'm really going to cover heavily with straw and chopped leaves. And then in the spring, because I know that this area really loves to grow the weeds, what I'm going to do in the spring is I'm going to, again, mulch it heavily before I plant, but I'm going to just kind of cut holes. Rather than kind of like opening up everything, I'm just going to try to cut holes where I want to plant. So I do know that next year, this was the potato bed this year. This is going to be my bean bed. So that I think currently my plan is I'm going to take a bean, my plan is I'm going to take this trellis that I use for my beans, and I'm going to wind it in like a big U shape in this bed, and in the center I'm just gonna have like 2 or 3 tomato or pepper plants, just kind of something in the center to help take up some space. And I'll have some stuff on the side, you know, I'm not really sure, but my plan is for all that stuff just to kind of cut holes in the cardboard and try to get a really good handle on the weeds next year. I say this every year, and every year come August it fails, but I'm really gonna try to just kind of cover everything this year, and that cardboard and straw will break down and really fertilize this bed. So I'm doing good things for the bed, but I just kind of need a weed barrier. I think if I get one solid year of a good weed barrier, we'll be off to the races. So that's all I'm going to do. And a lot of these weeds, I'm going to try to pull as much as I can. All of this, the potato bed wasn't tilled, but the new bed this year was tilled. So all of those weeds come up super easily. And again, when I planted my potatoes in here, there were no weeds in here. Well, not many. So all of these weeds, again, do come up super easily. They're only a few weeks old or a couple months old, so they're not established. So for the most part, the majority of them don't have really deep, thick, hard roots. So that's going to make hopefully getting a lot of these weeds out of here very easy. And then again, I'm just going to lay the weeds down where they are, let them die. They'll act as a natural weed barrier. And then cardboard and straw. And then throughout the winter, just save all of your cardboard. And again, before I mulch my paths next year, all the cardboard I have saved all winter will go towards the paths. I will cover the paths again with it, and, you know, try to do the best I can to keep a handle on these weeds. But you just have to remember as well that the garden wants to grow. It wants to produce. It wants to cover itself. The earth does not like to be exposed. So we do the best we can, and when things grow, we let them grow and we don't worry about it. So if you have a messy garden like me, if your garden kind of looks a little rambunctious, we're not going to be upset about it. We're going to be okay. The garden produced. We had a great mosquito. We're going to get rid of the mosquitoes. If I get rid of the mosquitoes, I would get rid of the mosquitoes in a heartbeat. But the garden has done wonderful things this year yet again. My garden never lets me down. I let the garden down because I don't stay on top of it, but it doesn't let me down. So I hope this is inspirational, that if you have a garden that is not the way you want it to be, that's okay. We don't live in Fantasyland. We don't have unlimited amounts of time, and we have other things that take priority sometimes. And that doesn't have to mean that we still can't be proud of the garden that we have. This, atrocious, but I'm so proud of it. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.